let me go back to perhaps the sampler, and let me pull up just maybe a house piano sound. All right, I want to talk about how we can record our own MIDI notes in there. These are the MIDI files over here are pre-recorded MIDI tracks. So if I just keep dragging them in there, you can just see there are notes that are pre-recorded in here. Here again, if I double click on this MIDI file, then you'll see the edit files. You can see what pitches are there. So if I do a rewind, excuse me, and I've got the house piano sound is what's pulled up, because remember, these have no sounds in them. Okay, so this MIDI file has those particular notes in it, but what if I wanted to record my own notes? So let me hit delete on this, get rid of that MIDI file, and if you come down here at the very bottom, you'll see a couple of other little commands. This is a keyboard. We can pop up a little virtual keyboard here, and what I'm going to do is highlight this track, and you see when I highlight this track by clicking on it, you see the name of that sound sample file pops up. If I click on this track, then you see simple pops up here, which means it'll be playing this track. So click on your instrument track, then this instrument, you can be playing the house piano, which I've assigned here from the instrument list. But now I can play these notes from the keyboard. The great part is, if you see down here on your computer keyboard, your ASCII keys, you can press these ASCII keys and do the same thing without having to click your mouse. So you can at least trigger the notes here. And once again, this would work if you had a separate MIDI USB keyboard plugged into your USB port. But I'm trying to do this so you don't have to have any external hardware. But obviously you'll have better control of this if you don't have to use this little virtual keyboard. But it does give you the chance to get all the notes in, just very simple to learn how to play with it. And then the upper notes are the sharps and flats. Okay, so that's our virtual keyboard. So to record, all you have to do is turn on the record button. All right, so that's how you record sound into that. Remember, once the sound, the MIDI file is recorded, I can double click on that and you can start to see where the notes are added into that. We can change the sound of this. If I want to change that to a cello sound, then go back and rewind first, and then so whatever sound you pull up can be triggered by these MIDI files. You can also change the whole instrument. Remember, if we go to the web machine, so we'll be pulling up analog synthesis sound. So the sound can be changed according to whatever you want for that. So that's how you record your own MIDI files. You can then save those MIDI files and put them over into your list of saved files over there. So very easy to record your own sounds and trigger and try out different kind of samples. But it's also easy just to try out some of these pre-recorded MIDI files that are over here that would work for particular bass lines or keyboard lines or different kind of pad sounds. So either way, you can record some or just try out some of your own MIDI. That's what the MIDI files are. So, and the MIDI tracks, the instrument tracks will have these particular sample instruments that you can pull up to listen to them, because there are no audio files in these, obviously. All right, so now let's take a look. Let me get rid of this for a second. And then I mentioned to you before that there's a drum machine and also an SPS drum machine. So we go to the standard drum machine for a second. Let me close the keyboard for a second. So what you do on the drum machine is it has a series of instruments here, and that each of these is a different part of the drum set, bass drum, snare drum, and so forth. So if we double click in the area here on the instrument track of the drum machine, just in the empty area here, double click, it pulls up your MIDI edit screen. You'll see just kind of an empty clip area here. The drum machine sounds are assigned to MIDI notes starting with C3. So over here we can try out, we can audition by sending a MIDI note to whatever instrument is assigned to that. So if I click on C3, you can hear the bass drum, snare drum, next the clap sound, all the way up. So there should be 8 different sounds here. Yeah, so we go all the way up to the G Should be something at the A flat, no, just the G. All right, so between C and G, that's where I'd be recording. So you can either go up here to your pencil command, and then with the pencil command, I can put in a bass drum sound every so often, every couple of beats there. And then if we want to rewind and listen to that, so now you see those notes are going into my MIDI file here. And so how you then build up your drum track is to then just go through and add in the notes that you want using your pencil and put those in at whatever point you want. So you can build up interesting kind of drum patterns here. Let me just randomly pick some sounds and pick some notes here, and I'll put some all around, and then you can go back and lay on that whatever you want. So then once we get to rewind, okay, so that's how you build up the drum sounds in this drum machine. Now, let me do the same thing, except I'm going to change from my drum machine. I'm going to go down to the SPC. The SPC is a slightly different machine. Let me pick a kind of a preset for that, maybe Electro House. And now we can click on these, and you can hear the sounds of each drum set that are there. You can change the punch, the bite, and make it a little bit louder with the distortion as well. So these also, if we go try out in our edit screen here, we can start with C3. We're now playing the SPC machine, and we have a few more sounds on that. We have the swoosh. This goes yeah, up to the G as well. Nothing on the A flat. Let me pull that one down. So put it somewhere else. All right, so it's the same idea of you double click to put in your MIDI notes here, but now it'll be playing this other SPC drum machine. So if we listen to all that, the difference of this one. Okay, so it's the same idea, but with a different kind of drum machine. So that's how you add in MIDI files for that particular drum machine, and you should get a couple of interesting kind of patterns. You can make your own drum patches there. So that was, once again, all you have to do is pull up one of the drum machines, SPC, and then pull up a preset, and then from there, double click, and then try out the notes, but starting with C3, on this Latin, and then put in your pencil and put in some notes on that. And those are all different sounds. Let me go back here and drag this to the beginning. I'm going to get rid of this one. That was the other one. So now we'll just be hearing this one SPC, just to quickly try it. So there's the sounds. And you've got volume control over here as well. Okay, and then that's how you do the instrument sounds. All right, I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to quickly go back and add just a few sounds. Here's some of the diverse sounds. We can try a different category here. So if I want to try out some drums into my audio, remember these are audio files, so we'll be listening to them. Pull up that. All right, so you can try a lot of these different sounds in the final category here. A lot of these are percussion sounds up in the front. Let's try some more interesting beats here. If I try a berimbau, which is an African string instrument. Rewind. All right, I'm going to quickly just going to loop this, turn on my loop file so it loops that one little excerpt. All right, now I want to try some of the effects. So how do we add effects to this? First of all, I mentioned up here that we could cut this file. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Excuse me, zoom out a little bit more, so we can sort of see what's going on. All right, so if I wanted to, with my scissors, put a cut there, it doesn't change the way it plays back at the moment. But now I can move this file separately if I want to. Oh, I just did another cut. Sorry, doesn't matter. We can move that anywhere I want. I can rearrange these so I can have them played in different order if I want, different kind of sound files. Put them in another file, have them played at the same time. All right, so the cut command, the scissors command, is a great one to kind of rearrange the sequence of sounds. You can also do the stretch command. So if I take that, you'll see these little corner dots that pop up. When I take that with the stretch command, I can now stretch this to a different sound. I'm going to get rid of these two, and just pull this back over here so we can listen to it. So now I've stretched that out quite a bit. It sounds totally different. If I go back to something close to the original, still a bit different. I'm not changing the pitch on that. If I want to change the pitch, go to this command. Then when you stretch, you also change the pitch on this. So I can take it down, or if I want to go to a higher pitch, go shorter than the original file. So that then you can start to paste and copy or loop them as well. So that's stretch without pitch change, and then basically a pitch change with either stretch on it as well. So those are the commands there, but you can do a lot of manipulation of the files here. So let me just, I'm going to get rid of this for a second, and maybe let's re-drag the original in there and listen to it. All right, so now let's go up to Effects. Hit the Effects button, and you'll see a plus sign up here. So let's add an effects, hit the plus. You see a list. These are the effects that are built into the free version. Let's add a simple reverb first, and you see reverb command start up here. So if I want to mix, remember, dry and wet signal, I can change this here. And so we can add more of the wet. That's the dry signal. Put more of the dry in there. Change the size of the room. You can also dampen there where there would be a reduction in the amplitude after each rearticulation. So there we get some of the longer reflection sounds, but the shorter reflections do get dampened in that one. And then the width of the reverb, which is going through the left and right panning of that. There are also presets in this, which you can try out as well. All right, so that's the reverb. Very simple, very useful. Always recommend having a reverb on most things. If you click the little X, we get rid of it. We could also add a second effect by hitting another plus button. And let's try something different. How about a tremolo? Remember, tremolo is going to be a rapid alteration of volume. So let's pull up a preset on that. We can do a spinning. And this is actually spinning back and forth on the panning of that. If we go kind of a strange motion. All right, so you can add different effects here. That was tremolo. Hit the X, get rid of it. Let's add another one. How about a filter? This gives us a low pass or a high pass filter. Remember, this is set up on the low pass here. Remember, if we have the cutoff frequency all the way up, it's not filtering out any of the partials. If we take the cutoff frequency down, it'll start to filter out any of the resonance partials above the fundamental. And we eventually go below the fundamental. And the resonance gives us the volume control around the cutoff frequency. And then remember, the high pass will do just the opposite. So let me turn this down. And remember, if we're up here, then it's attenuating everything but the very highest overtones. And then it's allowing the overtones to come in till we eventually get the full fundamental sounding. What's interesting about using a high pass filter, you can turn up the resonance on that and start to hear some of the upper partials become almost like the fundamental then. So you get some very different resonance using the high pass filter with the resonance control on that. It doesn't sound much like the original in many cases like that. So very useful filtering processes for that. All right, so that was a filter. So I welcome your trying out all of these different kind of effects processors. You know, compressor we've talked about, as well as phaser, delays, different kind of distortion. If we want to add distortion to that. So you could really transform the sound in a lot of interesting ways by using a lot of these combinations. You could add multiple effects. If I want to do I've already had a reverb, I'm going to do something else there. Try the phaser, then add another one. We can add the delay. So you can keep adding different effects to the sound until eventually you would get a very interesting combination of changes to that original sound, and you may not even recognize the original sound. So these sound sources that you've got here are not the limit of what you can do with those sounds, because obviously with the number of effects you can turn it into anything else. There's the original sound again. So one more thing on the automation here. If we pull up the volume, that was just my master volume here, but we can also go to automation of volume. So you'll see here this bar that pops up, and once again we could put in an automation of the volume and have it, the volume going up or down, as well as automate the panning by clicking those and then being able to drag it for left or right. So lots of interesting capabilities for making sound and music with this program here. So hopefully this gives you a sense for all the different kind of sounds that we can make. I'm just going to get rid of this, and hopefully I've gone over everything on this. But it's a pretty effective program. What's great about this is you could share this online with other of your friends and try to build up pieces together online, because all of this is not on your computer, it's being done totally on your line. You can also record into your microphone as well. So if you do have a microphone built into this, you can set up your audio track and turn on the record button. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there you can see how you can record in just by hitting the record button. You may have to specify the settings for that, but the settings should allow you to get the record. So you can record your microphone into this and do instrument recording with the keyboard, virtual keyboard that pops up here assigned to one of these tracks, and then you've got all these other pre-recorded either synthesized sounds or sample sounds that you can drag into that. So take a look at this and add a bunch of extra tracks over here by clicking here, and then you should be able to make a lot of interesting kind of combinations, but with just that combination. So have a great time kind of exploring the multi-track recorder in Soundation.com.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.